start this thing?
Yes.
All right. Welcome, I'm Steve, and thanks so much for coming today. Today's topic is a day in the life of a raw foodist. And I'm going to be talking, usually I come here with a big screen and I have my PowerPoint presentation and doing the science behind it, and today is just more experience, so I didn't bring my monitor in. And I didn't want to bring, I usually bring my monitor to play videos too, inspirational videos, but now I have a video or a live person who's going to tell us a little bit about herself as well, named Kerry. And just wanted to, again, thank you all for coming. I know a lot of you are here because you want to increase the fruits and vegetables in your diet and find a way, how do we do it? How do we make this work and likable? Because I grew up with hamburgers and hot dogs and pizza and burritos, and I grew up until just a few years ago. So I've been like hitting all of those hardcore, and I love all that stuff. I love it all. I live in ice cream and you name it, I love it. The problem is it just doesn't love me back, as I've heard say. And one of the biggest surprises with raw foods, being 100% raw foodist now for a couple of years, is that the food loves me back. And I love it more than anything I've ever eaten. I enjoy food now more than I have. And you could never have told me that. You could have never told me that an orange could stack up to a rack of ribs, or a hamburger, or a pizza, because those were just euphoria to me. And I was in euphoria, and one time I had a friend, me and him, we wanted to see what the reality of the situation is, because the mind says one thing, but what's the reality? So we timed going out for pizza one time, and we were like, okay, we're about to get our pizza maybe in 15 minutes, and we're having pleasure now because we're excited to have it. So there's about 15 minutes of pleasure, anticipation, then we're eating it, and after about 10 minutes, it started to decrease in pleasure after eating for 10 minutes. And then 15 and 20 minutes into it, it was just decreasing a little bit more. And then an hour or two after I ate, it was like, oh my God, why did we do that? And this has been the story of my life. I kept doing it, and until I timed it with my friend one time, I didn't know the reality of it because my head keeps saying that this, and does its own thing. But seeing the reality that I just had about maybe a half an hour of pleasure, and then the rest of it was pain. And so if I times that by 3, eating 3 times a day, there's maybe an hour, 90 minutes of pleasure in whatever food I'm eating. What about the other 23 hours? And so now, when I eat, and after I eat, it's great. I feel as energetic as I did before I started. And I love the way I sleep, and I love the way I get up. For instance, this morning, without an alarm clock, I got up at 5 a.m. and I'm ready. And I was laying in bed. It's still dark outside. And I was just laying there and just happy. And I was like, it's too early. I wanted to still be sleeping, but I was like, I have too much energy. So I got up and I started doing work, and then went to the farmer's market. And I like to call him my dealer. I go see my dealer because it's almost like a drug dealer, because it's like I go there and I get high as I'm going there, and then I score and I leave, and then I go, and then I go home. Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, I can tell you where my farmer is in Encino, and and there's plenty of them. It's like I got my food, and I didn't think I would ever have pleasure just like going and buy food. And when I go to a grocery store now, I love it because I go where the food is in the produce aisle, and I don't go to the other parts. And it's crazy from where I come from. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do from day to day and how I do this. And before that, though, I wanted to have Kerry come up and tell how she does it. Kerry has been a raw foodist. I met Kerry first online. I saw her raw food meetup, and I saw her for a couple months, but I didn't do anything about it. I remember seeing her, and I've seen other meetups, and I get to see her face, and then I was on this vegan board or a vegan potluck, and then I saw her say, I can't make it to this one because I'm going to my school, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, is having a conference this weekend. And I was like, oh my God, that's the school I go to. And then so we got in contact and became friends since. So just wanted to introduce Kerry, and maybe Kerry can tell her story for about 10 or 15 minutes. And
do you want me to stand or shall I?
yeah, no, yeah, definitely come on stand, and let's welcome Kerry.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Steve, for asking me. A little bit about my story. I suffered with chronic fatigue for many, many years, and one thing I realized very quickly was it wasn't just chronic fatigue, but a host of other things: digestive issues, headaches, PMS, which of course the men won't struggle with, but maybe the women in your life you struggle with, acne, stiff joints, tons of stuff, moody, foggy thinking, lots and lots of different things. I didn't realize they were related to what I was eating. I thought as we age, our bodies simply shift and change, and things happen. So the fatigue got serious enough that I had a friend give me a book about raw food, which I promptly read and said, there's no way, that's impossible, like for regular people. And after a couple of additional years of really seriously struggling and watching my relationship with my daughter really suffer because I wasn't able to really be present in my life with her in the way that I wanted to, I said, okay, something's got to give, I've got to try. And I had tried many things previous to that and spent actually thousands of dollars on alternative practices of every sort you can imagine. So I jumped in. I had actually just bought a house and remodeled that. I was working full-time. I'm a single mom, and I said, I still have to do this. And I did, and I never recommend to anyone, like, jumping in 2 feet straight ahead in winter, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I had nobody in my life that knew anything about eating raw food. I was reading books and going, well, what is this thing, and what are you supposed to eat, and what do you do on a day-to-day basis? So, and the added challenge of still, my mother lives with me and my daughter does, and cooking for them every night and feeding them and then doing my own meal. So I switched just overnight, and within a very, very short period of time, I needed 1 to 2 hours less sleep a night, which was huge for me. All of a sudden, I'm ticking things off of my list of things that didn't work, and now they were working. My thinking got clear in a way that it had never been, and it's sort of that thing of you don't really know how things are until they're different, and you can compare and contrast them. I was experiencing walnut allergies, for instance, for 20 years. I couldn't eat walnuts. My throat would get really itchy and kind of swollen, and it would just drive me nuts, and I had a few other foods that would happen. That was gone. For about 3 weeks, that was gone. So I really appreciate, Steve, some of the things that you shared. They were very similar to my experience with food, and I love food. I'm huge into food. For me, if it doesn't taste fabulous and I don't want to eat it, I don't. I derive a lot of pleasure from food and from sharing food with other people, and so going raw was a little bit scary for me. Am I going to like this? Is this going to work? So a day in the life of a raw foodist for me normally looks like a smoothie for breakfast and some sort of fruit. Maybe I'll have apples with, I dip them in walnut butter or something like that for a snack. I will have a salad almost every day for lunch. Honestly, I think the world would be a completely different place if it was smoothies and salads and whatever else the rest. So for me, and what I've personally experienced and what I've read about, the stronger the greens, the better, like the arugulas and some of those more bitter greens, like anything dark and really rich, kale, chard, which I'm not a huge fan of in my salad, but I know a lot of people are. For me, almost every day, arugula. I love bok choy. A lot of people sort of flinch when I say bok choy in the salad. They're like, well, don't you eat that cooked? Isn't that only supposed to be cooked? It's fantastic raw. And I have usually Bragg apple cider vinegar. I actually use an olive oil called biryani, which is a raw olive oil that's tremendous, literally tremendous. Both in terms of its health benefits and its taste. It'll stack up to any olive oil you can't imagine if you pour a little spoon of that. And even like a light flavor olive oil that you buy at the store, they taste like chemicals if you just eat them plain, because they're infused with that. Sea salt and avocado, and usually ground flax. So that's getting me from waking up until mid-afternoon. For dinner's where I really have most of my variety in my diet. I've done so many things over the years. The first year I was raw, wrote a cookbook of all the things that I did because I didn't want to forget them. And so I do sushis. I do a lot with kelp noodles. They are super flexible in terms of they don't have a flavor in and of themselves, so they'll take up any flavor that you give them. You could honestly even go Italian. You can do, like, for instance, last night for dinner I had kelp noodles with a tahini, walnut, soy kind of sauce. So it's like an Asian sauce with sesame seeds and a lot of other stuff in it, but that sort of base with a lot of chopped veggies, and it's delicious. I mean, my 13-year-old daughter was, trying to steal the noodles out of the bowl, and that definitely says something when the 13-year-old teenagers are eating the food. Mm-hmm. And then, honestly, oftentimes I have a smoothie after dinner. A couple of hours, we eat pretty early, 5-ish, 6 sometimes, so not always, but a lot of times I'll have another smoothie at the end of the day just because I absolutely love them. My favorites are with either spinach or kale and bananas, blueberries. I love blueberries. I eat an awful lot of blueberries. And coconut oil is a great one to put in a smoothie. There are lots and lots of ways to do it. That's generally what it looks like. In terms of day-to-day living, Barbara had been asking questions about how is that when you go out, with friends or do any sort of events. You can get a salad almost anywhere. For people who are interested in being 100% raw, it's absolutely doable. My experience over the time that I've been doing this is that most people are not necessarily interested in going 100%. They're interested in getting healthier and feeling better and bringing in more, as Steve said, fruits and vegetables, and nuts and seeds also are a great addition when they're raw, because they bring so much more in the realm of nutrients, vitamins, minerals. Cooking shifts the quality of your food. So what you have is different if you cooked it. And the quality is tangible. You can taste the difference. I mean, raw foods just pop in your mouth. I've taken many people with me to raw food restaurants over the years, and I'm always delighted, especially I had one girlfriend who we went to a raw meal together, and she was stunned that it could taste that good, because she is on a very, as Steve mentioned, pizza, hot dog, hamburger, give me a steak for dinner with some potatoes on the side kind of diet, and had never had a meal that was a raw meal. I mean, most people have had a smoothie or a salad, but the more savory meals, like dinner type meals, most people have not had those totally raw. So when people have those and they love them, they say, wow, I had no idea. I've had that experience here at Sun Cafe with a few friends where they come and they try something and they're just stunned. So that's a little bit about me and my path and what my experience has been with raw food, and I'll be here after if you guys have questions.
Great. I want to get you guys a red smoothie. It's maybe Scott, can you help out?
Sure.
Of course you would love to. Here's that. I'm going to bring you that if you can pour some. That would be great. Thanks so much. So thanks so much, Kerry. It's great. You know, I could see, like when I met her in person, I can see the glow. And I see that a lot with raw food, is there's a certain glow and an energy beaming. And I have found for me, my skin cleared up too. I lost about 40 pounds, and about 45 pounds, and now I'm up about 10 pounds from my bottom weight, because what happens is you break down and the body gets rid of everything it doesn't need. And during that time I had plenty of people saying, look at you better stop this is crazy. Now people are saying I'm looking good, and you know, and I'm so glad I stuck through it because I had the support. And so what this Sunday deal is about giving support and having a community, because I want a community together so we can either call each other or get together, because just me with myself against the cooked food world, you know, I'll have everybody telling me how crazy I am. You know, family, friends, you know, they all mean well, and you know, and we were all brought up with the 4 food groups, and you need the balanced diet with, you know, the 4 groups, and I have found that not to be true. And so this is something I will have in the morning. Most of the time my smoothies are green, but this is a red smoothie, and there are greens in it, and the only way to get them red is by having red chard, and I have raspberries. So the ingredients in the smoothie that you're having right now are bananas and dates and frozen raspberries and celery and red chard. So we got 2 greens, celery and the red chard. It's kind of green, kind of red. And the raspberries and the bananas and the dates. And so a typical day for me will be, I'll wake up without an alarm clock. I love, usually, I'm going to give you what my best day is, because I'm not a perfectionist. I always want to try to improve and strive to be better. But a perfect day for me, or the best day that I typically will have, will be waking up around 5 or 6 whenever the sun comes up without an alarm clock. I'll do some sort of quiet time with prayer and or meditation. I'll write some sort of gratitude list and focus on what I'm grateful for. And then I'll have a green juice. And I'll get the green juice that's taking the fiber out and just having green juice. So a green juice would be something like cucumber and celery. Those are the watery greens. And then I'll put in the darks, and I'll put in arugula. I'll put in parsley. I'll put in cilantro. I will put in kale and spinach. Maybe not all of those at one time, but it might be like 3 or 4, and that's it. Now when I first started, that was too green for me. That's just too green, and I needed a little bit of transition. And so one of the things, a great transition, 2 great things to add are lemon and apples to your juice. It sweetens up and makes it a little lemony. And I first heard about that from Natalia Rose, who's a raw foodist and a nutritionist, and she's been around a while. And her book, The Raw Food Detox Diet, I think it's called, is one of those books that you can see at like a regular bookstore. A lot of them aren't in regular bookstores. You have to buy them specially online or something like that. anyway, she had something called green lemonade. And I was like, that kind of sounds good. And she would put in, I believe, kale and maybe some other greens, but there was always like a Fuji apple and lemon. And that was like what she would do. It could be 2 lemons, could be 2 apples, it could be lots of kale, but getting those live enzymes in us. And one of the things I learned from her was that even if I'm not 100% raw and I'm going to have like steak that night, the green lemonade, because of all of the enzymes that we are infusing our body with, is going to help me digest the steak later. And I was like, cool, that I could like do something now for later. And why is digestion so important? Because when we digest easily, we all of a sudden have more energy, and I'm all about energy. Energy is what I'm seeking. I try to seek the pure energy, and made a company out of that name. Pure Energy Factor is my company. And so the less my body has to work at breaking down food, the more energy I'm going to have. And I love energy. I love when I feel like up and happy and good, which is now most of the time, it's like the norm. I hate when I'm feeling down and tired and sluggish, and I feel my body and the aches and the pains. And yes, I was feeling that. I have arthritis, and from overuse in basketball and eating so many acidic foods, my body would just break down, and my joints were just getting beat up, and there was no muscle or anything or I was too tired to like recover, and I was under recovering, and it started to take me 2 or 3 days to recover from basketball, and I didn't like that. I was feeling my age, and I wanted to be young, and so that's how I got into the diet, because a friend told me about it. So back to my day, after I do a green juice, I'll typically go over to Runyon Canyon over here, and I will go walk and or run it.
But I turned it off. Sorry.
How you doing, YouTube? So I'll go to Runyon Canyon, and then right after Runyon Canyon, I'll have some sort of green smoothie, and or maybe right in the car, I'll have some fruit to restore my sugar levels, my glycogen levels, and get them back up. So I will do that. So it's the green juice in the morning, and then the green smoothie in the mid-morning. And that'll take me for a few hours. The green smoothie, what you're having right now is something I would have, you're having about maybe 12 ounces right now. And I will have about 48 to 52. So I eat a huge green smoothie, and it's very green. And a typical green smoothie for me will be bananas and dates, that's usually the base. Frozen blueberries, that's usually my ice. The frozen blueberries acts as ice. And then I will switch up my greens, and the greens will be kale. I love kale. And this restaurant has helped me like kale more. Ron, the owner of the restaurant, loves kale, and he's heard so many great things about kale, and I started to research more about kale, and I see how great kale is. Spinach. I don't have to tell you guys how good spinach is. Chard. Broccoli flowers. And then and I'll save the broccoli stems and juice those for the next morning or something. And then I will have, I might put a little dandelion green in it or something. You got to kind of watch the dandelion, they're pretty bitter. And I could put arugula, anything dark green. And the key, what I learned from Victoria Butenko, who is known as the green smoothie queen, the one that brought green smoothies to make them popular and wrote a few books on it, is rotating the greens. And I don't want to have chard every day. I don't want to have kale every day. But I'll mix them up. Maybe if I have them 2 or 3 times a week, but have breaks in between and rotate the greens helps. She found this out because she was so in love with the raw food diet, and then after a while, she started to notice, and when she got into green smoothies, she started to notice that she said like her mouth like wasn't like it was like numb, and she was getting like this numb feeling here. She was like, oh my God, the green smoothies! I finally found green smoothies, and now they're not working. And she found that we need to rotate, because when animals are in the wild, I think the plants have some sort of protector, and I forgot what the name is in there, but it's something that makes you go to different plants, so you don't just eat. The animals don't just eat one plant; they go to the next one, and they kind of save their own species. Plants are. She has a chapter in her book called "The Wisdom of Plants," and I highly recommend her book, Green for Life. And so I got my greens in. And then through the rest of the day, I'm pretty much just eating fruit. And I love to eat mono meals. Mono meals is one food at a time. And it's what we were designed in nature to do. Way back when, we didn't have the menu where we could say, I'd like all these, 20 different ingredients in one thing. We just ate from the orange tree. And we went until we were full. And then we went to the next tree on the next meal. And sometimes, maybe we'd have to walk a few miles to go get it. But there wasn't, all of this variety, and I come from, well, variety, you need all of your nutrition. And you need the oranges for the C, and then you need the goji berries for this, and then the carrots for the A, and you got to get your selenium, and then you got to get, and I thought about like, oh God, I got to get all of this stuff because I'm going to be nutrient deficient on the raw diet. And I found that that's not the case, because it's not so much what you eat as much as what you absorb. And the healthier I get, the more I seem to absorb. The healthier I get, the higher I get from food. I love food. I'm a foodie. I love it. There's no, people say to me sometimes like, oh, that must be hard to do the raw vegan diet, or you got to be like depriving yourself. There is no deprivation on this diet. If there were, I wouldn't do it. I say it was difficult at first because I didn't know, but now I know the tricks. I know what to do and how to do it. And it's now just really easy, and it's my lifestyle. And so I'll do the fruit through the day, and then at night I will have what I call my King Kong salad. And my King Kong salad is typically romaine lettuce. I usually go to Trader Joe's to get my romaine lettuce, and everything's organic. I'll put in sugar plum tomatoes from Trader Joe's. I love those. And then I'll put in some purple cabbage maybe to give it some of that color and of course the nutrition. I'll maybe slice up some green onions. I'll put in some cilantro. I love cilantro. I'll put in as many celery, red bell peppers, anything that I could put in, even some mangoes, and some people say, well, you can't do fruit, and I have found that you can't do sweet fruit and greens. You can do sub-acid fruits, and I did a whole thing on food combining before. I won't get too much into that, but like mango is a sub-acid fruit, so I found I can mix that with other stuff, and I'll dice it up and make a salsa with some tomatoes and onions and that, and then there's always avocado in there. Avocado is like my friend, and I'll put maybe some orange juice or lemon juice and some either coconut vinegar or apple cider vinegar of some sort, and then I'll put in maybe some cumin or paprika or whatever flavor. That's the thing. Like Kerry was saying, it's like I could have a salad and then I can make it an Italian salad, I can make it a Mexican salad, I can make it a Chinese salad, Indian, all the flavors with the different seasonings. And so my salad bowl looks like this. I call it a King Kong salad because it's about 4 pounds, 4 to 5 pounds. I grub, I love to eat, and I'll take about me at my best, I'll take about 45 to an hour to eat it. And it'll be like a meditative time where I'm just chewing and just giving myself the self-love, and I just feel so good. Oh, I always start the morning also with about a quart of water. I do a quart of water, a liter of water, just, you know, maybe 2 16-ounce cups, maybe back to back or maybe 5-10 minutes apart, but I always want to hydrate. And I'm already getting a lot of hydration with the raw food itself, but I found that the more hydrated I am, the better I sleep, the better, the stable my moods are, just the better I feel. Better experience on this planet Earth with more water. And so, and then at least an hour after I eat, I will drink then another glass of water. I try to eat around 5 or 6 o'clock and get to bed at around 10. So there's about 4-hour break. So my food is digested before I sleep, so I sleep harder because the body's not trying to digest. I could just sleep. And then I sleep until the next morning. That's basically what I do. Now the tricks sometimes for eating out. Sometimes friends want to eat out. Sometimes friends, I'll have people, you know, go out with my family, my mom or sister or something, and sometimes, depending on the restaurant, I'll bring my salad bowl, and I'll just bring it right on in, depending on the restaurant. You know, if it's more nice or fancy, I won't do that. I might bring in, I'll just order the salad, because like Kerry said, you can get salad anywhere, but I'll bring my dressing, and I'll make like an avocado, lemon, vinaigrette with the seasonings I want, and I'll have anywhere from 16 ounces to a quart of dressing on my salad. This is not like, oh, I gotta put a little dressing because it's too fattening. There's no like, there's none of that. And I mean, it's like I drench it in, because salad tastes okay, but it's the dressing. And it's all about the dressing. And it's like, so I grub. So that I found there's no deprivation on this. What else can I say at this time? That pretty much is my day. Some of the things that I've heard other people do, some people don't eat nearly as much fruit as me. You know, there's raw vegans, like people, you know, who aren't raw vegan might just see the raw vegans, but us that know about raw veganism know that there's like different categories of raw vegan. And there's the ones that are all about fruit and sugar, and that's me. You know, high fruit, I believe in that, and low fat. And then there's the ones that say stay away from the sugar, or I can't have sugar because of this, this, and this. And I'll get to that in a second, but then they do high fat. And then there are some that do like serious greens, and they're all about green, and they're very much into as low calories as possible, and calorie restriction, I've heard. And that doesn't work for me. And they do sprouts and stuff like that. Everybody has a thing that works for them. And then, of course, there's the people that don't do 100% raw, which is most, and that works for some people. And I have found that people who just go 50% raw, just doing that is a whole nother, is another life experience, just 50% raw. And I said I was going to get to something in a second, and I forgot what it was. But
high fat.
High fat.
Low sugar.
Okay, right. Thank you. Okay, so what I have found is that the sugar problems like candida and diabetes are not sugar's fault. We want to blame the sugar, and if we stop having the sugar, some of those symptoms go away, and we say, yep, it was the sugar. But what I have found in my research and in my personal experience and some of the friends that I'm close with is that it's the fat and sugar combination that causes the sugar to go into the bloodstream and slow down in the bloodstream and stay up for too long. And so, but when you're eating no fat, like I don't eat any fat until nighttime, until my dinner. That's when I do my avocado. Now, there's some people that can't do too much sugar and they need a little bit of fat to sustain them, and that's cool too. I think at first, anything you could do raw is great. The more raw, the better. But as you get healthier and you get onto another level, you're going to want to start to increase the energy more and kind of watch that, okay, you know, like I used to come to restaurants all the time like this. And I still kind of do, and when I do it too much, I feel it. And I feel a little tired because a lot of the restaurants have nuts and seeds and agave nectar and salts and all of this stuff, which are fine, but if I have it too much, I start to get a little bit tired. And when I eat my raw, like just fruits and vegetables, then it's so much better. It's like, I don't know, I'm like high all the time. I don't know if you guys could relate to this. I couldn't before. Kerry said something like, you don't know how it is until you actually do it and how you were beforehand, or you don't know how sick you are until you get well, that kind of thing. And it's like, I have found that to be true. I have found that I have an experience in life that's like nothing. A couple nights ago, I was at a Friday night, I went dancing with some friends at a couple 20-year-olds, and they were like, this guy was like, hey, you want to go dancing? And I'm like, sure, I love music and I love dancing. And I danced for 2 hours straight. And I got home at 3 in the morning, and I woke up at 6 and did my day. And that's like the energy, and I love energy. You guys might hear me say that a lot. So going to fancy restaurants, I could bring like a salad dressing, just, especially if you're a woman, you can put it in your purse. It's so easy to sneak it in there. I kind of just have a little bag or something, or I'll just hold it like that. And I found that I can be raw. A lot of times too, before I go to a restaurant, and I know I'm going to go to a restaurant in 2 or 3 hours, I'll have a big green smoothie and get full on that. And then when I go to the restaurant, I don't have to have so much. Especially because most restaurants don't do it organically, and I try to do as much organic as possible. If you're going to do conventional produce, so much better than the alternative cooked food. Some people say, well, it's not organic, so I don't want to do it. I'd rather have an organic, I don't know, chicken or something. It's like, I would say, do the conventional produce that has the pesticides on it before that. And I don't know if there's too much more to say. That's pretty much my diet, but I did want to open it up for questions. And I also wanted, if anyone has questions for Kerry too. So, you have a question?
I do.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if you don't have one of those professional industrial size juicers, do you juice it first and then make a smoothie? I mean, how do you do that? How do you make it with all those vegetables?
You're talking a juice or a smoothie?
I don't know, because you keep saying you make a smoothie.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you make a smoothie with all those raw vegetables?
Well, I do have a blender.
Like that? An industrial?
Yeah, it's not like, it's not an industrial, it's kind of like a home hybrid version industrial. There's basically 2 blenders on the market that seem to are the most popular for raw foodists. Oh. And the first one, the most popular from way back when, is Vitamix. A lot of you have heard of Vitamix.
But is that a juicer?
No, it is a blender.
Oh, a blender.
It is a blender. So there is blending, where you are stirring up the food, and then there's juicing, where you are extracting the fiber out of it, and you're just having the water of the plant. The water of the plant is awesome because it's the most organic water you're going to get, and it's alkaline, and it's vitamin and mineral rich, and there's energy in it. It's live and enzyme rich, and all of this stuff. So Vitamix is one of them, and the other one is Blendtec. I have a Blendtec. Blendtec is a little newer, maybe 5 to 10 years on the market. It could even be longer than that by now. And that's the one, if you go to Starbucks, you see all the Blendtecs. I saw them too at Robux. They have all the Blendtecs. So Blendtecs are a little bit more electronic, push of a button, and Vitamix is more kind of a turning a knob, a little more older fashioned, but it's still great. And it has a tamper that you can like mix stuff up, so you don't have to like pull it up and shake it or anything like that. It does that. Whether you get a Vitamix or a Blendtec, you're going to be happy with it. Everyone always asks me, which one should I get? Which one? Either one is great. It's just the fact that you're trying to increase the raw foods is awesome. Yeah.
Now, do you juice or you blend?
Both.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. On my best day, I will juice first thing in the morning. I will get the lightest thing in me first. And the quickest digesting thing, which is juice. Then I will do a green smoothie, which goes a little bit slower. Then I will have fruit throughout the day, which does its own thing. And then the salad with the fats at night will digest the slowest. And we want fats. Definitely fats are good. I'm a fan. We need our omega-3s and 6s. I don't have to tell you guys that. And fat slows down the energy. And at nighttime, it's good to have lower energy, especially before sleep. But through the day, my energy, people know me for energy. They always see me and they're like, you got this energy, you got this energy. And I'm like, fruits and greens, pure energy. That's my tagline, almost. And I can't even tell you how good it is. Are any other questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
And it's for you, Kerry. So I work in Century City, so I commute. I leave my house at 7:30 in the morning. I'm not home until 6 o'clock at night. And so I can't figure out how to do this, and transport stuff that is going to sustain me throughout the day. I work for lawyers, it's very stressful, all that. So I suffer from fatigue as well, tremendous. On the weekends is when I try to recharge. And so I'm looking for foods that are going to help me do that.
Right, so the question is about being gone all day and dealing with energy. And in a sort of precarious environment where it's difficult maybe to have your food there with you. So a couple of things on that. One of the things that Steve shared about juicing and blending, can I ask what kind of equipment you have?
We're getting a Vitamix. It's coming in the mail. I'm just holding my breath. I have right now a Magic Bullet. Yeah. And that's just kind of helping me over for right now. It does some, but I've used it so much now, it's starting to kind of.
Yeah. Well, they're not intended for the long term.
I do have a juicer.
Good. Wonderful. Okay, well, a couple of things. If you get yourself, if you don't already have, sort of a freezer box, cooler, ice chest kind of thing, you can do a smaller one. I actually pack my food for the day to take with me every day. Every day. I have for years and years. So one of the things, are you able to eat breakfast before you leave the house in the morning?
That's not typical for me. I usually do it at the office.
Okay. So one possibility is sort of what Steve talked about, getting the nutrients in quicker and an easier way. A really important thing when you're dealing with fatigue is noting that your body has X amount of energy. And what do you want to have it allocate that energy towards? If it's going towards digestion, you have less in the bucket for your life, basically. So when you're doing juices and smoothies, you're able to allocate more to your life. And I appreciate what Steve shared about leaving the time in the evening before you go to bed for your body to be working on that, because in the night, when you're sleeping, that's when your body goes into repair. And especially when you're dealing with any sort of illness, even the flu or a cold, or more serious challenges, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, cancer, high blood pressure, oncoming heart disease, anything. Your body has a lot to do. So the earlier you can be done with your meals for the day, to give your body that time, as Steve mentioned, to get it processed before you go to sleep, the better. You can absolutely, one of the things that I find works really well is to do a very large container. They sell, plastic. I'm not a huge fan of plastic, but you can get BPA-free or glass, large or even metal, large containers that you can build yourself a really substantial salad. And I'll share also, if you chop your veggies more finely than just really large chunks, you can get it volume denser so that it takes up less room in your refrigerators. So let's say, Sunday night and maybe Wednesday night, you make a really large salad. So you've got all of your greens, the romaine like Steve mentioned, arugula spinach, and I love also what you shared about rotating. So maybe you do one kind of salad the first half of the week, another kind of salad the second half of the week. Seasoning, you just cover so much great material with the herbs are huge. You mentioned parsley, cilantro, basil. They're all really, really dense ways to get nutrition, and in a way that tastes great. I love my salads with herbs. So you're going to pour all that stuff in. You can, maybe have yourself a little jar that you keep some ground flax seeds in, or maybe take a little avocado on the side. I know Steve's really fond of his at night. If that's, if you're feeling like you need something more during the day, as he was talking about the transition, so just deal with what works for now. And if that looks like something heavier, nuts, you can put sunflower seeds on, you can put pepitas, walnuts, almonds. There's tons of great sprouts are also incredibly nutrient and protein dense foods. So if you're not into sprouting, you can buy at Whole Foods or Lassen's or possibly even Sprouts Market or some other markets, just a box of sprouts. I eat 2 or 3 or 4 boxes of sprouts a week. I don't have the time in my life at the moment to sprout. So you can do that. You can buy MAUK family, mock family ingredients, seed crusts. Those are really good midday snacks for people who are not quite where Steve is yet in terms of having all the fat and the heavier things later, to have those handy during the day for a snack. And fruits and veggies. You can do so much prep at home at a time, and then have things stored away in containers, or the green produce bags can also be really helpful in terms of preparing your food and putting it in something where it will last. I often chop up cauliflower, broccoli, carrots. Sweet potatoes are fabulous in salads. You can shred them. You can buy a spiruli slicer, and you can get spirals for veggies. Any of those things, and he shared a few, like apples, fabulous in salad. And exactly really what he said was seasonings are so important, so do what you like. Do what you eat it and you want to eat it again. Those are good.
Okay, thank you, yes.
That's awesome. I'll say one thing too. What time do you go to work? What time do you leave the house?
About 7:30 in the morning.
What time do you get home?
6.
Okay, so
If I'm lucky.
if you're lucky. One of the things too, the more raw you get, the less sleep you're going to need to get up earlier on your own, where you can actually, like, to make a green smoothie before you leave. Like right before having a big green smoothie with bananas and dates and the greens, and then bringing fruit with you is another thing, and or have a salad with the avocado in the day. Again, it's not, this is just the way I do my avocado at night. It's more of an athletic thing too. Athletes kind of do what I do as well. And but yeah, having a salad, having your fat in the day, and having it at night too. Also, the more raw you become, and the way I do raw, which is higher fruit, the bigger your stomach is going to get, which is like, what? We don't want a big stomach. My stomach is bigger than anyone I know. Not the waistline, the stomach. I tell people if they want a small waistline, you got to get a big stomach. Like, all right. Because a big stomach is, the only way you're going to get a big stomach is by having foods that are fiber and water rich, which are raw foods. And so my stomach has expanded, and I can put a lot down, and I can last longer. But at first you're not going to be able to, so that's where fats are good, because fats take longer to digest and they will hold you longer. One of my friends who's close to 300 pounds, well, I have 2 friends. I have one friend who's 300 and one who's close to 200. The one that's close to 200 said that he found when he started to do raw that dates, these are his words, stick to his ribs longer. So he loves having dates in a smoothie that kind of stick to his ribs a little longer. My friend who's 300 pounds, or was 300 pounds, started raw, and he did raw all day until nighttime, and he does whatever he wants. He's diabetic. And now he's thrown away his diabetes medication just by being raw through the day. So, you know, and you can bring bananas with you. Bananas are a great thing. You know, they're so portable and easy. And bananas, very important here. Bananas need to be ripe. So many people say, well, bananas back me up, or bananas this, or bananas that. And so many people are eating bananas the way I used to eat bananas, which are, you know, little green or yellow. Bananas are supposed to be brown spotted. They're supposed to be brown, and not like black where they're like soft and mushy. Not like that, but just kind of in between. Bananas are one food that increase in energy as it ages. And it goes from a starch, high starch, to a high sugar over time. Starch is what we do not want. Sugar is what we do want. Sugar is great for us. This is now me speaking, and people will disagree on the raw community, and even in the whole community. Sugar is awesome, is my belief. All 80 trillion cells that we have run on glucose. And so if we don't get the sugar, it's going to take the vegetable, it's going to take the fat, it's going to take, if we don't eat our own body flesh, and do something called gluconeogenesis, and that is to turn it into sugar. So you're going to get sugar, you know, unless you die. You're going to get sugar some way. So I just get the simple sugars. And so I believe highly in sugar. I think sugar is a great word. It's gotten a bad rap because people are referring to fake sugar. I think they should start calling it fake sugar, because real sugar is fruit in its natural package, naturally made, digests perfectly the way nature intended it to do. So hold on, Barbara had a question, and then...
Oh, yes, I had a couple questions.
Yes?
So you mentioned the Encino's Farmers Market where you have your supplier.
Yeah.
Who is that person?
Yeah, so the farmer's market that I go to in Encino is Etheridge Organics. And you can go see Gene Etheridge and tell him I sent you. And if you buy enough, he'll give you a deal like he gives me.
Oh, okay. How old are you? Just curious.
How old do I look?
Oh, I think about my son's age.
Yeah? How old's your son?
30.
Yeah. When I went dancing the other night, we were hearing music that was like older. It was like 80s music, and I used to be a nightclub DJ, and so I used to DJ with Richard Blade at 20 years ago. And I told them I used to DJ this music 20 years ago, and a group of 20-year-olds were around, and they were asking me, "How old are you?" And I was like, well, how old do you think? Now, I've never heard this before, this young, but a few people, like, the group consensus was I was 26 or 27. I'm 43.
Ooh. Oh my God.
That's great. You hear that, YouTube? I'm 43. So yeah, no, it definitely, I believe in the last few years I have gotten younger. I mean, no, I don't think. I know I've gotten younger. My skin has cleared up. Some of the gray hairs have turned to black. Some say, the owner of the restaurant say I'm growing more hair on top. And these are all things I wanted and I heard. Some of my lines are a little clearer. So I'm 43 years old. So thank you. That's great. I love this. I'm having a great time right now.
Well, just one more quick one.
Yeah.
Like, check with the salad dressing you make at night. You put that in the blender with, what is in that dressing? It's always different?
It's usually the same base. My three bases are avocado, lemon juice, and or apple cider vinegar or coconut vinegar.
No oils.
I typically don't, but I will. You know, and I'm going to be asking Kerry afterwards about the oil she's talking about and probably get some.
Oh yeah, I want to know that too.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's called Biryani.
I spell it B.
B-A-R-I-A-N-I. Locally, they have it at the Co-op in Santa Monica and at Erewhon in the Fairfax.
What's so special about it?
Well, it's a raw olive oil. The taste is completely different. You can read on the website a lot of what they talk about, but they're pressing it cold and processing it without chemicals. You can taste by yourself a regular olive oil, even a light flavor olive oil, even if it's organic, even if it says cold pressed on the bottle. I did this. I poured it into a spoon, both of them, because I thought, well, how different could it be? This is more expensive. And I tasted both of them, and I was repulsed by this other olive oil. I just thought I had no idea, because I had never put them in such contrast with one another. You know, you pour it on a salad, it's kind of diluted with whatever it is. Certainly if you're cooking with it, you're really not going to taste too much of your olive oil unless it's gone stale, then you'll probably taste it. But it's remarkable, and it's delicious. It brings olive oil flavor, and I just encourage all of you to do your own experimenting. Taste things and see. You can call companies directly. Almost every product has an 800 number. Ask them, how do you process your product? Every one of them that I called said, we do cold pressing, but you know, it does get heated up in the process through friction, or they use chemicals in the filtering processes and manufacturing, which absolutely will change the quality and the flavor. Both things are really important to me. So, you know, if I don't, I'm like Steve, if I don't love it, I really don't want to eat it. I don't care how good it is for you. I have to be able to enjoy my food. And the other thing too, I was going to add too to what you said on your, you can also pack smoothies to go. So it's not just that you have to have a salad to go. You can pack a juice or a smoothie to go also. And you know, kale or spinach or any greens, you can even do romaine, cucumbers, any of those things in a smoothie with a ripe banana. And a little trick is you can take your bananas, and when they are at the peak of ripeness, this is not the same as you're going to go to the store every 2 days and have fresh food, but I don't personally live that life, so I can't do that. But you can either peel them and chop them up and put them in a glass Tupperware in the freezer, and then you just use them as you want, or if you don't have any of those, you can use freezer bags. Obviously glass is preferable if you're freezing, but I'm all about healthy in a way that's real and accessible for people, because so many of us are busy. We do not have, you know, 4 hours a day to devote to food prep and going somewhere to get your food. So for me, it's all about what can you do in a way that actually works, you know, in your real life. You know, you said you've got a very long day, so buying things in bulk on the weekends and preparing them, I mean, it's not ideal nutrient-wise. By the end of the week, you're in a different place. If you can go midweek, that is great, but if you can't, you're still better off. It's like you said, you're still better off to have something fresh that's a few days old. Like I said, the green bags, you can use those. They help them, it slows down the process where the vitamins kind of reach out over time. It slows that down so that you're going to get a little bit more.
Oh, just really quick, I know it's 11, but do you think the pressed juices, like, it's kind of a trend right now, they're really better than the kind you use in the blended, the Vitamix?
You mean juices versus smoothies, like blended in the blender?
Some of the stores are now Erewhon and is now selling the pressed juice instead of the Vitamix.
All the research that I've done on juicing, I don't think there were any press machines around when I was doing research. I think there are pros and cons to everything. There are temperature changes in production. There are how much the machine can really get out. So how much juice you get versus how much pulp is left at the end. I'm sorry, I don't know about a press machine in particular. I mean, if it's not really heating up the juice.
The Erewhon has it. They say it's a huge hydraulic thing they have in the back, and they press it. And they claim it's preserves the enzymes better.
Yeah, I think that is the one machine I know is the Norwalk juice press, and that's from Norman Walker, who made juices popular early in the last century. And so yes, they would press it, and then it's supposed to last longer.
Yeah.
The basic rule of thumb is the quicker you get it, the more nutrition is in it. After the food has been broken down, there's no preservatives in it, so it won't preserve, and it means it breaks down like it was intended to do, to break down in our body. So, to get a juice freshly made is better than getting a juice 3 hours old.
Mm-hmm.
A juice 3 hours old is so much better than not having any juice at all. So it's like, so it's just doing the best we can with what we have. And I think after you get into a rhythm, you're going to start to see that this is easy. My morning green smoothie takes me 5 minutes. My fruit in the afternoon takes me 0 time to prepare. I just eat it. My salad at night, that's the long one. That takes me anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to prepare, if that's even considered long. And that's it. It's very simple. You don't have to cook anything or wait for the stove, or it's just, it's great.
And cleanup's different.
And cleanup is like, oh yeah. But yeah, if you clean up right away, you don't even need soap. Unless you're dealing with like garlic and onion and stuff like that. But if you're just having, we're going to answer your question, but we do have to stop like the video, and the restaurant wants us to clear out. But we're going to stay and talk with you. But you guys, thank you so much for coming. And it's just
Thank you.